So last time we took a look at shaping, this learning procedure that can be used to develop incredibly complex behaviors. But is it all sunshine and roses, or are there some hidden dark secrets? Well, today we're going to take a look at that as I take this, the finger of power, engage in some observational learning, and if you know, you know, and if you don't worry about it. But I'm going to take this, the finger of power, I'm going to give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down, because I am Dr. Igor Juricevic, and this is Functional Analysis of Behavior 1. Let's go. Up those downs. Alright, so if you haven't already, be sure to go back and check out the previous video on shaping where we laid the groundwork for what we're going to be discussing today. And as we saw in that previous video, so many of our amazing complex behaviors that we can do have been achieved through shaping. So every musician that has ever been able to play a song has been able to play that song through shaping. And you have gone through shaping as you have moved from kindergarten to graduation in your ability to attend school, in your ability to behave in school, in your ability to learn, in your ability to study, in all your abilities that are going to take you from your beginning behavior of kindergarten all the way through to the end behaviors that you have in order to graduate. Those have all been done through shaping. So again, if you haven't watched that video yet, pause this video, check that out first, because we're going to be building on that as we take a look at the pros and cons, the ups and downs of shaping procedure. So again, if you haven't watched that video yet, pause this video, check that out first, because we're going to be building on that as we take a look at the pros and cons, the ups and downs of shaping procedure. So the first feature we're going to discuss is that shaping uses a reinforcing approach. It uses reinforcement to teach these new behaviors, and because of that, it tends to be pleasant. So when you're learning to play a sport, learning that sport tends to be pleasant. People play sports, right? It's there in the very word. Those behaviors tend to be pleasant. The fact that shaping is pleasant is also revealed in the fact that people pay in order to go through the shaping procedure. So people pay in order to learn a sport. People pay in order to learn how to, for example, play baseball. People pay in order to learn how to rock climb. And people usually enjoy it. People pay in order to take music lessons because they enjoy the process. And again, this is because shaping uses a reinforcement approach to teach those new behaviors, and those tend to be pleasant. So shaping uses a reinforcement approach to teach those new behaviors, and that makes it pleasant, and for that, shaping gets an up. Alright, the next feature of shaping that we're going to take a look at is the fact that shaping can be time consuming. And the reason it can be time consuming is because numerous of these successive approximations may be necessary to get to that terminal behavior. So it takes years in order to learn how to play an instrument really, really well. It takes years in order to move from kindergarten through to graduation. And this taking years can be extremely time consuming. Yes, surprise, surprise. Taking years can be extremely time consuming. And because of that, shaping gets it down. So the next feature we're going to take a look at is that shaping is systematic. What this means is that shaping is defined as a system. It's defined as a step-by-step procedure. So successive approximations to a terminal behavior, those get reinforced. Non-approximations are put on an extinction schedule. There's no kind of intuition required. It's just when a behavior moves closer to the terminal behavior, it gets reinforced. When it doesn't, it gets put on an extinction schedule. And for this systematic characteristic, shaping gets an up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to take a look at has to do with successive approximations to behavior, but this time it's a weakness of successive approximations towards behavior. And the weakness is that progress towards a terminal behavior is not always linear. So if we take a look at this graph of the intermediate effect, we wish, and it makes it more sense in our human brains can understand this, we wish that the progress from being a beginner to being an advanced expert is a linear progression, that it's always up and to the right, that you're always just getting better and better and better. When in reality, oftentimes what happens is you go through a dip, you go through a period where you actually get worse before you get better, and that is just the way that certain skills are developed, and shaping cannot take that into account, or it's not that it cannot take it into account, but it's a little tricky to take that into account. So because it's tricky, because it's difficult to take these dips into account while you're shaping, shaping gets it down. All right, the next feature that we're going to talk about for shaping is that shaping requires continuous monitoring to detect changes in the learner's performance. And that continuous monitoring is very, very difficult to do. So we need to continuously, when we're shaping a behavior, we need to continuously monitor that behavior, watch that behavior for times when the variability, that natural variability in behavior, moves it closer to the terminal behavior. We got to be on the lookout for those successive approximations. And many practitioners of shaping, especially, for example, teachers, they're in situations that are highly demanding. They're in situations where they have to take a look at many, many students. They have to monitor many, many forms of behavior, many instances of behavior, and it is extremely demanding and sometimes impossible to notice those small changes in behavior. So shaping requires that continuous monitoring, and for that continuous monitoring, shaping gets it down. Okay, so moving right along, we take a look at the next feature of shaping. And remember that we said shaping relies normally on reinforcement, and that means that it does not rely on other learning procedures. Specifically, it doesn't rely on punishment or other aversive learning procedures. So these learning procedures, we haven't encountered them yet, but they are not pleasant. They are not pleasant for the learner, and they are not pleasant for the teacher either. So they're not pleasant overall. So the fact that punishment is not typically involved in the procedure of shaping means that shaping gets an up. So the next feature that we're going to introduce about shaping is that shaping can be misapplied, and this misapplication can lead to unwanted behaviors being shaped. So oftentimes problem behaviors in children are shaped. So a child will act out in order to get attention from their parents, and when their parents give them that attention, that acting out is reinforced. And if the parents, for example, wait until the child has acted out more and more and more before they finally give in and give that reinforcement of attention to that child, guess what? They have unwantedly reinforced that problem behavior, that acting out, and they have made it stronger and more advanced through shaping. And this is something also that can be misapplied in relationships. So you take a look at relationships, and sometimes they start out so wonderfully, and then in the end they turn so toxic. And I am not blaming the victim here. I am not blaming anybody, but it is our jobs as psychologists to recognize and understand that going from this relationship was wonderful to this relationship was toxic is often a learned procedure and is often done through shaping. And nobody wants a toxic behavior, but that unwanted behavior can be shaped, and for that, shaping gets it down. And another feature related to the unwanted behaviors is the fact that shaping can be misapplied, and harmful behaviors can actually be shaped. Behaviors that are actually harmful to the learner. So think about somebody that has a life of crime. Think about a lifetime criminal. Chances are they did not start with armed robbery. Chances are they did not start with the high-level felonies. Chances are they started with much smaller crimes. So somebody that got involved in a criminal lifestyle, they might have started just being the distraction. They might have started as just kind of working with other people and taking a rather passive role, just being the distraction to allow a crime to occur. And then maybe they took a step up and they had a more advanced behavior of actually taking an active part in that distraction. And then eventually through shaping, they become the perpetrator of the crime. They become the person that is doing those advanced criminal behaviors. They started out small. They ended up with these large criminal behaviors or these highly advanced criminal behaviors. All of that was done through shaping, through the successive approximations getting reinforced. And because those harmful behaviors can be shaped, shaping gets it down. So the last feature that we're going to take a look at with shaping is the fact that shaping is extremely versatile, and you can combine it with other established behavior modification procedures. So for example, you can establish it with verbal prompts. So verbal prompts such as the cheerleaders, rah, 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 sis, boom, ba, let's go, let's go, let's go. Those verbal prompts can be combined with shaping to enhance a learning procedure and get to that terminal behavior a lot quicker. Shaping can also be combined with chaining. So we're going to take a look at more on chaining in the next videos. But basically, chaining is when you break up a behavior that is very complicated into the small little components, and you can use shaping on those small little components. So for example, if you're learning how to drive a car, there are 20, 30, 40 different behaviors that you need to do when you're driving a car, but you can break those behaviors up into little pieces and then use shaping to get those little pieces to the terminal behavior, and then you stick them back into the chain, and that can greatly accelerate the learning process. So the fact that shaping can be combined with other established behavior modification procedures, because it is so versatile, because it has that feature, shaping gets an up. All right, so that was our analysis of the ups and downs of shaping. And as you can see, there are some things that we need to be very cautious about when we go through the shaping procedure, particularly those shaping of unwanted behaviors and the shaping of harmful behaviors. However, shaping is so powerful and it is so versatile, and it can be applied to so many wonderful behaviors to get us to that expert level of performance, to get us to that terminal behavior, that overall shaping gets an up. All right, so that's the end of this video. So in this video, we took a little bit of a different approach here, and we took a look at the pros and cons. We upped those downs for shaping, and we saw that shaping is very pleasant because it uses a reinforcement procedure. However, shaping can take a long time because of those successive approximations. However, shaping is systematic because it is well defined and can be applied in just about any situation. But on the other hand, shaping is very tricky when you take a look at behaviors that do not follow that linear progression towards their terminal behavior. Shaping is also something that requires continuous monitoring, making it difficult for example, teachers to successfully shape a large classroom full of behavior. So typically, punishment is not used in the shaping procedure. However, shaping can lead to unwanted behaviors. Shaping can lead to harmful behaviors, but shaping is also extremely versatile, being able to fit into and be used with various other procedures such as verbal prompts and chaining. And for all that, shaping is a very powerful tool that we use as behavior analysts and behavior modification practitioners in order to take somebody from a very, very beginning level behavior to an extremely advanced level of terminal behavior. All right, so that is it for today's video. So next time, we're going to turn and face the strange with some chaining. However, until then, thank you so much for joining me. I've been Dr. Igor Juricevic, and until we see each other next time, stay frosty, stay functional. So last time we took a look at shaping, this powerful learning procedure that can help us develop some incredibly, yeah, that's the word.